Hello and welcome to a new episode of Code Zombie podcast or ZomCast. This is ZomCast number 4 and I'm Mehdi, the host of this ZomCast, this podcast with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mahmoud. I'm co-host of this podcast.
Very good. Let's talk about the latest and developments in this week, in the past week about the software industry. Actually, I don't have much news about the developments of during the last week, except the fact that there was a big event, a Red Hat event on crowdcast.io that was called DevNation. And it covered a lot of different technologies like Kubernetes and containers, involving different languages like Python and Java, especially. These two languages were discussed the most. And you can find the recorded sessions of these DevNation sessions on Red Hat Developers official YouTube channel. And people who are involved in the cloud industry will find them useful, I'm sure, and they will find some new technologies as well. All right. The main topic of today we are going to discuss is about StackOverflow. StackOverflow is a platform that was created in 2008 by two programmers called Jeff Atwood and Joel Spolsky. It's an environment where people go and ask questions about programming, some problems that they might have in programming, and then other programmers and developers come help them to solve those issues. And I'm sure most of you developers that are audience of this podcast have experience working with Stack Overflow and using it at least a couple of times or at least once. So, Mahmoud, do you have any experience with Stack Overflow?
Yeah, actually, I use Stack Overflow a lot, and especially when I have a big problem and I haven't any idea, I write my issue on Stack Overflow, and always there are some people that come and give me some good solution.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Yeah. Uh, Whether you are a beginner programmer that just is getting started with some technology or with your career, you will find a lot of nice people that can help you on Stack Overflow. But note that there are some rules on Stack Overflow that, for example, you should be careful before asking the question to ask a good question, because it's important to ask a good question. And if you are just a beginner and you ask a question without Googling it on Google, while there might be some solutions already about that problem, you are opening yourself to some probably criticism by elders and experienced users of the website. Personally, I have had some experience on Stack Overflow, and most of the time the people there have been very useful and helpful. But sometimes, Mahmoud, sometimes when I go to Stack Overflow and ask some question, I noticed that some of the people come and just criticize the question. They say, for example, should have done some Googling about it, but I have done some Googling, and sometimes I find those criticisms a little bit harsh. And let me open it a little bit. You might think that I'm a little bit talking probably a little bit unfairly about Stack Overflow. But I think that a lot of the elder users, a lot of experienced users of Stack Overflow just expect everyone to know the rules. And obviously that's not the case with the new users, because someone just has started a new technology or a new project and never heard of Stack Overflow before, and just uh, fell in trouble, and is looking for a solution. They they head over to Stack Overflow and look for a solution, and then some people come and just bash them, because they say you should add more explanation to your question. This is a bad question. Do some googling. And one thing that I hate about Stack Overflow, and don't get me wrong, please, is that people just downvote questions that they deem not quality questions. They think that those questions are less researched and they are not useful questions. I think that just pushes people away from Stack Overflow. But recently I realized that the behavior has been moderated a little bit. They are kinder to new users, and they welcome the new users. And I even see that automated a little bit. For example, if someone is a new user, Stack Overflow platform reminds you of that and says you should welcome them and help them to get started with Stack Overflow. And I think this is a very good step toward creating a constructive community and welcoming new users. Have you had good experiences with Stack Overflow, Mahmoud?
Actually, yeah, I love Stack Overflow and I use it a lot. And I think about what you say, but I don't remember this experience, because it's normal to ask question by some beginners, some
Yeah.
started. It's very visual, and I sometimes I see some very basic questions, but a lot of people, a lot of elder developer come and answer them and help them, and some of that question are very simple.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes some questions might seem very silly at first, but it's someone's problem, and I think
Yeah,
that the
someone
community needs to
exactly.
be kinder to those new users, those users that are just getting started with the platform. And
Yeah,
as I
sure.
mentioned, they are getting a bit better on this. And also over the years, Stack Overflow, as I said, has been working for more than 10 years, about 12 years now, because
Yeah, I
it
think.
started in 2008, sorry. And it has been active all these years. And I remember that I saw Stack Overflow, I searched for problems and solutions when I just was a freshman in college, and it has grown a lot. And one thing about Stack Overflow that is very attractive is that it's not just Stack Overflow. They have built other platforms around the Stack Overflow that involves Stack Exchange. Do you have you had an encounter with Stack Exchange, Mahmoud?
I see it, but I saw it, but I didn't use it.
Hmm.
No.
I think Stack Exchange is like the mother platform of all these content management systems, all these Q&A websites. Like there's a website specifically for programming and programming discussion and Q&As, and another website for Linux and Unix questions and answers. Another, for example, for advanced users of operating systems and tech geeks, people who are interested in doing special things or tricks with different software that fall in not in a specific category of development or a specific software, but in general terms. Like, for example, you have a problem with Excel. You want to create a special type of tables in Excel. You might head over to superuser.com, which in turn is part of Stack Exchange. And there are many other websites branching off of Stack Exchange, like English.stackexchange, Japanese.stackexchange, and German.stackexchange. These are language learning branches of Stack Exchange, and they are very good in helping users grow and find solutions to their problems. And as I said, but this is just some addition that has been added over the years. And if some new community tend to arise due to a lot of population that want to discuss a new topic, they can go to a special website, a special page on Stack Exchange that they can request for a new community to be created around Stack Exchange. And if they want, if the administrators of Stack Exchange decide that there's enough people and enough questions to discuss that, probably they are going to create a website based on a Stack Exchange for that topic as well. But back to our main topic, Stack Overflow. What do you think, Mahmoud, are the top technologies discussed in Stack Overflow? Can we say that there's a top or most discussed technology on Stack Overflow that people go and look for answers to questions in that specific topic?
Actually, in my experience, I'm always, when I have a big issue and I need help, I'm going to Stack Overflow and ask from the other elder developers, and it's always worked.
Yeah.
But maybe the basic questions, because there are a lot of new developers that they want to start, and it's very good platform for starters. But I use it in high level questions. I remember I used it recently.
Wow, great. So one question you might have regarding Stack Overflow is how we make the most out of Stack Overflow. What kind of questions we should ask? What tips and tricks we should consider when asking a question to get good answers? Let me first tell my opinion about this. You might think that Stack Overflow is just a community of people that will help you do anything you want. For example, you have a project and you're getting started to do a project that just was announced by your boss or manager, and you just go to Stack Overflow every step of the way and they help you do anything, and you just copy the code and paste it in your project and you're good to go. But honestly, that's not the case. In my experience, if you do that, you don't get good reaction in the first place. And after that, you don't learn a lot. Because in order to get good answers, you need to ask good questions. And in order to ask good questions, you need to have a good understanding of the problem and the technology. If you just have a vague understanding of a problem, for example, regarding a topic in Android like activity lifecycle, and you have some problem with managing backstack, and you go and uh, ask some question regarding that, they often there are people that help you and give you code, but I think that doesn't help you much. You can copy it and bring it to your project, but probably that's not gonna help you in your next projects, because you just basically become a copier and paster of code, and that's not good for a developer. And recently I have been less active on Stack Overflow, honestly, because I thought that it doesn't add much to my knowledge. And as Mahmoud mentioned, unless you have a very tough question, you have a tough and complex problem, probably it's not a good idea to ask your question every step of the way on Stack Overflow. Most of the time, you should consult the documentation of the technology you are using, whether it's .NET or Node.js or PHP, whatever framework you are using or technology you are using. First, you should consult the documentation, and most probably you will find good information about that. And in addition to that, you get a more thorough understanding of the technology by reading the docs. And if you are a member of the groups or communities on Slack, for example, of some technologies, you will understand that when you ask a question, they often refer you to docs, because there's not much to discuss in most of the cases, because often there are very obvious and specific docs about every topic or subtopic that you might have. And by reading that, you might get other problems that you might encounter in the future solved. So that's my opinion. What do you think, Mahmoud, about this? Do you agree that we should first consult the docs and read the docs, although it takes more time, than going to Stack Overflow quickly and just getting some quick answer and bringing it to our project to please our boss? Because the managers and bosses love the project to go turbo fast, super fast.
Honestly, I'm sure that it's better to start with documentation for the first. And if I want to talk about my experience, I'm do it exactly like that. I'm start with documentation and doing some small project for programming, and after that I use Stack Overflow just for special questions, because there are a lot of better documentation in the other websites, and I just use it for very difficult questions, because there are a lot of good developers and you can use their knowledge, and they share their knowledge. They are very kind people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's better to start with documentation. It's not for learning programming language. It's just for talking about some issues, like when you want to compare some technology with other technology, or you want to discuss about a solution, best solution for an specific problem. It's good to use Stack Overflow.
So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You say that it's good to ask questions that are comparative when you want to compare two technologies. I'm not sure about that. You
Really?
said that they asked. I have seen a lot of questions in this category, but I don't see those questions welcomed a lot because they are broad. When you ask a question about technology, is this technology good? And it's very opinion based. It's opinion based, and every person has a view about that. And I have seen questions like, for example, how to create, and not specifically this question, but questions like this: how to create a very basic PHP website. Okay, this is very general question, and this might get a lot of views, millions, not millions, but hundreds of thousands of views. But many people and administrators, management of Stack Overflow doesn't find this, in my experience, useful, and they close this type of questions so that you cannot comment on them, you cannot answer to them, you cannot answer them, and in general, they don't welcome opinion-based questions. That's just one experience of mine. So, what else did you want to continue with something?
Yeah, sure. It's not good idea to ask this type of questions. But if you describe your position, your problem, and your current steps, uh, I think that it's good idea to ask opinion questions, like not very uh, that type of question, but you can talk about your project and you are in this step of it and you are thinking about
Mhm.
uh, comparing some technologies, like
Mhm.
I use a lot in this situation of Stack Overflow. I'm ask my questions. If I want to tell you one of them, yeah, I remember I'm asked some question about. I'm describe my issues and my steps and share my codes and tell them that I'm in this step and I'm thinking about is the await better or uh, async. Yeah, I remember I asked that I just want to compare async and await, and a lot of good developer comes and extend this discussion, and it's become very useful discussion
Mhm.
because everybody come and say their solution, and after that another developer come and uh, talk about the other solutions, and it's create a very good discussion, and it was very useful. But the point that you can have this good discussion is, I think you should uh, define your problem very correctly and share your steps and share your project, not all of your project, just that part, uh, and I think it's create a good discussion. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you can use it.
yeah, exactly. So the more specific you become in your question and your steps and your code, if you
Yeah,
add
yeah.
your code, they love it because it's about code. Stack Overflow just is about code, and they love it, and you will get better results and answers. And have you ever used Stack Overflow chat?
No, I don't use it.
It has a specific part. It has a section, Stack Overflow chat, regarding different tags. For example, let's say Node.js or .NET. You will find probably chat rooms regarding these topics and tags. And you can have your extended discussions and even general discussions in these chat rooms. And they are very good. And they don't have the limitation of, uh, let's say, very exact and specific question to be talked about that is the case on the website and in terms of question posts. And yeah, it was about the making of your questions very specific and very exact and adding some code. These are some tips that make your questions better. The next thing about Stack Overflow that I think it's very good to use Stack Overflow in this case, and you will likely get better answers, is when your code doesn't work. You have some code, but it has some bug, and no matter how much you bang your head to the wall, you cannot find the solution. You cannot find the bug. But probably there's some guy on Stack Overflow that has had some previous encounter with the problem, or just sees something that you didn't realize in the code. You didn't see it. They will probably fix your code very soon. Have you had some experience similar to this, Mahmoud? Sometimes you have some code and it has a small bug, but you cannot find it. Probably with your experience or with your knowledge, you cannot find the bug. But there are some people that are very good at tracing the code, and probably they have some previous experience with that kind of bug, and they can help you with that.
Honestly, I don't use Stack Overflow in these problems. I just use it for
When you had a question, you wanted to implement something.
I just use it just for find solution. Ask what is the best for this solution. I use it a lot in this aspect, and it's always work. There are a lot of people that waiting for answering these questions. I think Stack Overflow, in my opinion, it's very awesome idea. The rationale behind Stack Overflow is really awesome. All developer feel this website is very useful, and you can imagine some developer come and ask their question and share their issues, and after that some elder developers comes and answer them. It's really good cycle. It's a win-win. Why it's win-win? If you see the Stack Overflow website, when you answer a question and your answer is correct, they give you some point, and it's very important. Even when you going to some new you want to find a new job, it's very important. It's very good point. They ask your Stack Overflow point. And I think it's a win-win game, because the elder developers got more points, and the new developer find their solutions. And I enjoy it. It's very beautiful.
As Mahmoud mentioned, there's another aspect of Stack Overflow, that it is very reputable in terms of its points. The points that you get on Stack Overflow are very important to some companies, and they measure your knowledge and experience in development in general, or with a specific technology, based on the points that you have earned on Stack Overflow. And honestly, I haven't been in a situation that some company asks for how many points I have on Stack Overflow, but as Mahmoud said, I think it's very important for some companies, because they come and probably look for you on a Stack Overflow. And Stack Overflow has a section, let's not forget to discuss that Stack Overflow has Stack Overflow jobs, that allows employers to come and find developers on Stack Overflow. Sometimes I think they directly message them, right?
Yeah, you
Sometimes
can
they directly message the
them.
developer, or they put some advertising.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
you
think
can do
Stack
it.
Overflow works based on those advertising, right? His business plan is based on those advertisings. That
Yeah, I
probably
think.
allows the developers, allows the mm, uh, employers to post their jobs, the positions that they have in their
Yeah.
companies for the developers to see and send their resumes to them. Yeah, another aspect that we talked about was the points, and the points is important. Uh, if you are a very active user of Stack Overflow and you have a lot of experience and points, you can probably become a moderator if you are interested in becoming a manager or moderator on the website. For example, to be able to edit posts, to flag some posts, and as far as I know, it has different steps of privileges that are granted to users based on their experiences and also based on their rank in terms of being a moderator, what degree of moderation they have. You can become a moderator on the website as well. And Stack Overflow has yearly elections for selecting and choosing these people from among the members of the community. So today we talked about Stack Overflow. Thanks, Mahmoud, for discussing
Welcome.
with me about Stack Overflow. And if there's anything else you, the subscribers and uh, the audience of this podcast, have to talk about Stack Overflow, is there anything else you want to add to our discussion about Stack Overflow? Do you love Stack Overflow or not? Why do you love it? Why do you hate it? Please leave your comments down below. And thanks again for watching this podcast. And we hope you enjoy it. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye.